Hello, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. And I'd also like to say happy Hobo Days. It's the most magical time of year in Britt, Iowa. And tonight for episode 49, I have a guy who's a Brit legend, you could say. That's Coach Travis Hagen. How you doing, Coach?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, he cringed when I said that, but he knows it's true. So, yeah. Before we get to Coach Hagen here, we're going to recognize our sponsors. I was telling Travis before, he set a record tonight with 20 sponsors for this episode. A lot of money coming into the Legacy Fund, the Sanger Legacy Fund. So I want to thank those sponsors. Again, the Sanger Legacy Fund, we help fund the new West Hancock Hall of Fame. We give scholarships out to seniors, take care of athletic activity departments if they need money for equipment or new whatever, fill in the blank, championships. We've helped with some of that memorabilia. So it's a great cause to give to. If you want to go to sangerstrong.com and give, you can do that. And we'd appreciate that. My sponsors tonight are the Britt Car, Truck, Bike, and Tractor Night Cruise, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Daniel's Auto Collision, Nick Schmidt, Sidetrack Lanes, Wilson's Diner, Britt Food Center, Levi Dawn Trucking, Miller and Sons Golf Cars, Britt Vet Clinic, The Original Saw, the West Hancock Hall of Fame, Coogee Professional Power Washing, Jay Hiscocks of State Farm Insurance, First State Bank, Eric Krall of Ag Performance, the Brit Bar and Grill, Katie's Salon and Tanning, the Mainline Depot in Kanawha, and Buckets Bar and Grill in Buffalo Center, Rake, and Thompson. Well, it's quite the paragraph to read off there. So thanks again to those sponsors for giving to this episode. Fall sports are just underway. I believe the first legal practice for fall sports started on Monday. Camps were the week before. I heard for football they have about 45-ish guys out. Remember, that's the defending state champions. They have 2 home games to start the season, and one of them is against Garner, like always, and then that night will be the West Hancock Hall of Fame inaugural classes, because we're doing 3 of those classes for getting things kicked off. Way back when segment, like always, giving some podcasts some more views, hopefully, and those sponsors that give money to the Legacy Fund some more advertising. 10 episodes ago in episode 39 was John Weiland. 20 episodes ago in episode 29 was Rachel Lear. 30 episodes ago in episode 19 was one of your former players, Aaron Rasmussen. And then 40 episodes ago in episode 9 was the 1986 girls golf team. And like I mentioned, the West Hancock Hall of Fame will be here in a couple weeks. Be ready to go and launch that. At halftime of the Garner game, we're going to announce the inductees and teams, players and coaches that made it into the first 3 classes of the Hall of Fame. I was honored to be asked to MC that event, so I'm excited to get back up to Britt. Don't get up there as often as I should, so I'm excited to take part in that and honor some of those coaches, athletes, and teams from Britt, Kanawha, and West Hancock. Thanks again to Steve Lansing and the committee and the Sanger Legacy Fund for making this happen. The Mainline Depot in Kanawha is a family-run Airbnb located in a historic 1900 bank. Their goal is to offer the community and surrounding communities a hospitable gathering place to bring friends and family together and to honor the railroad history of our small Iowa farming community. The Mainline Depot extends their small town hospitality to their out of town guests by offering a comfortable home away from home. The Mainline Depot Inn offers clean, comfortable luxury suites for their guests. Future plans are to have a coffee shop and an old fashioned ice cream parlor. They desire to be part of a revitalizing of small town friendly Kanawha, Iowa, so that it's still on track for future generations. Be sure to like their Facebook page and see their listings on Airbnb. That's the Mainline Depot in Kanawha. Coogee Professional Power Washing. They're not just another business that's going to overcharge you for a service you can't do yourself. At Coogee Professional Power Washing, they offer affordable rates for a detail-oriented job. Coogee Professional Power Washing will make your house as clean and presentable as it was the day you bought it. On top of that, they also do driveways, which take away years of dirt and grime. Call Coogee Professional Power Washing today for an appointment at 641-903-1031. That's Brighton Coogee. He's a senior at West Hancock and started football practice this week. I'm excited to see how he's progressed from junior to senior year. He's going to be a good one this year. I know that. And then we have Michael and Brienne Ewing of Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company with locations in Britt, Kanawha, Clarion, Belmont, and Dow's. Mike is a 1998 graduate of West Hancock, and his family's been privileged to care for the communities of Britt and Kanawha since 1977. You can find them online at ewingfh.com or on Facebook, or give them a call at 843-3839 or 762-3211. That's Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company. And thanks again to the Ewings. And then one more sponsor here, and then we'll get going with Coach Hagen. It's Daniels Auto Collision in Charles City. Owner Jason Daniels is a 1990 West Hancock grad. Whether you need a minor fix-up or complete collision repair, Daniels Auto Collision is North Iowa's premier auto body shop and will have your vehicle back on the road looking better than new. With over 30 years experience and all major insurances accepted, why take your chances with anyone other than Daniels Auto Collision? Call them at 641-220-3805. Email them at danielsautocollision@gmail.com or check them out at danielsautocollision.com. All right, here we go, Coach. Again, I'm excited to have you on here. You were one of my football coaches my last 3 years, 2002 to 2004. Have a lot of respect for you and all the coaches at West Hancock. So welcome, and how's it going?
Going well. It's going well. I want to apologize for my backdrop. I have a really nice picture of the floor in 2019 when we won it that I have in there that's 5 foot by 3 foot that I was hoping to be my backdrop, but with our internet, so you got a hole in my ceiling, so I apologize. But
you're just trying to outdo your mom from her episode up in Sanger Field, I was telling you, who has the best looking background. So yeah. Before we get going with football, that's kind of the big thing we're going to talk about tonight, like usual. Talk about growing up in Britt, your background, family, job, fill in the blank, however you want to do that.
well, I've been here, I don't know, a long time. I married my wife in '98. She's from Rockwell, and of course, nobody from Britt would marry me. Um, we have 3 kids, Ryan, Tate, and Drew. Ryan is at the University of Iowa. She's got a semester left, and then she's going into another program, so she'll be there for a little more a while. My son Tate is a junior at Central. He's looking to be an accountant, and he's got 3 years left, but he's a junior, so only 2 years left. Depends if he wants to come back. They got that rule. So, and then Drew, my youngest, is 17. She's going to be a senior. Which, wow, I can't believe that. That went fast. And we live in Britt. I work for Budweiser. I sell Budweiser. I've been doing that for 22 years. My wife is the director of radiology at the hospital here, and we love Britt. We love being in Britt. We're so glad that we got to raise our family in Britt. The community is wonderful. The people are wonderful. The school is wonderful. There's no place I'd rather be at. No place I'd rather have my kids.
Yep, definitely. I agree. Yeah, you mentioned Vance, jumping into football here. You're a few years younger than Vance. He played from 84 to 87 for Coach Sanger, and this time period fascinates me because, you know, people younger than me or even my age probably think Britt West Hancock's always been this football powerhouse, and we have for going on 40 years now. But besides the 73 title team, before 84, we were 5-3, 6-2, 4-4, 3-5 type seasons pretty consistently. But man, when 84 hit, things kind of clicked. And, you know, so that early part of the dynasty, whatever you want to call it, is pretty fascinating to hear people talk about because, you know, you had still kind of a younger Coach Sanger. He was already well established. And this is where the success and the, you know, his program really started to take off. So what do you remember growing up about Britt football?
I was a manager in '84, my first year being a manager, and I remember Coach Perkins coming in and bringing the angle defense, and instead of bumping bellies and reading to the ball, we're going somewhere, and that was awesome. That really flipped a switch for our defense. They just really got after it in '84. I mean, Johnny Weiland and them guys, and I remember that I was on the sideline for the Osage game when Jay Hempy caught it, like Steve Kelly talked about. That was so crazy, so awesome because Osage is such a bigger school, and we beat them, and it just was a stepping stone. Those guys were so physical. That team, we got to do that. You know, those guys were the guys that started lifting weights, and I shouldn't say started lifting weights, but I really remember them lifting weights pretty hard. You know, Mike Smith and Donnie Halick, and man, they got after it back then, and it was fun to watch, man. And being a manager, you know, I love managers. You know, I was pretty hard on managers as a coach just because I did it too. I played football and I did that, but there's things you need to get done too. But it's not very many managers that didn't end up being darn good football players.
Yeah. When I did the record book for Coach Sanger's era, in the back, I have a roster all time, and I even included managers. So if you played and or were a manager, your name was in there twice, one for a player, one for a manager. And just looking through that list of managers, I was like, holy cow, there's like all staters and future all Americans, from in college that were managers at the time. So I just think it's cool that those younger kids are, it's kind of that stepping stone to get to middle school ball and then to high school ball. And it's kind of a cool legacy we have where you're trusting. I love how Coach Sanger trusted second and third and fourth graders to do pretty important jobs, getting the water out and the equipment out and, keeping
If you
things.
think about it, it's pretty smart though. It's a great recruiting tool.
Yeah.
Coach Dale, same thing. He knew how to get guys. He knew how to get kids to come. Man, you watch practice. You watch Oklahoma back when you're a kid. You're like, wow, I got to do this.
Yeah.
So he's smart. He was very smart about that. Both of them were.
Yep, you're prepared. Yep, and I was a basketball manager, so I was, a basketball guy, and you go in with those high school kids in the locker room, and you're at practice with them, and it's a big deal at that age. Makes you want to be a part of it. So, yeah. So you got to play one season with Vance, 1987. That was your freshman year. His senior year, you guys were 11-1.
Oh, hold on. Nope. I never played with brother. He's 4 years older than me. I was a freshman in 88.
88, 89,
Yep.
90.
Yep.
So I'm off a year.
Yep. Because Grant's graduated in 87, so I played 87 fall, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In 87, 86. But I'll tell you a quick little story about that. My brother was such a jerk to me when I was a kid. He really was. And when they took the dome floor, he walked over and slapped me 5. That was pretty cool. You guys, Mohawk and those guys, before they took the field, he walked over, because in the front row, and he smacked me 5. That was awesome. That was the coolest thing my brother ever did up to that point. But no, we never played against each other or played with each other until we got to Simpson. And then it was on, because I played nose and he played center. And the first day we went one-on-ones, right? 100 kids watching. We did pass under pressure. He was center and I was nose. And I swam him so fast he didn't know what was going to hit it, right? And the whole team, ooh, you know how it goes. He planted me the rest of the season. I got the first one, but I never got another one.
That's all that matters. You got one. Yeah.
No, we never played in high school together. No.
Okay, I'm a year off then. Jumping ahead here, talking Simpson. Does it hurt a little bit that Tate chose Central? I mean, he chose the correct school, but
No, and I hope I don't upset anybody, but I made a mistake. Ricky Sanger and some of them guys really, and Kevin Sanger were like, you got to go Central. Bob even, you got to go Central. I'm like, I'm not. I knew everything. When you're 18, you know everything.
Oh yeah.
Well, then I'm doing what I want to do. I actually wanted to go to Wartburg because Nick Smith was there. I really liked Nick Smith. I looked up to Nick a lot in high school, and I wanted to go there, and I didn't get in. So I went to a visit to Simpson with Scott Van Dusseldorp. And they were really interested with him. I just rode with him just to ride. I never got a letter from Simpson, and they watched his highlight tape and stuff or whatever, and they saw me and are you 51 Hagen? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you come down here? I said, all right, I'll come down. Well, the funny thing was Bob Dara was there and was recruiting Don Finch to wrestle. My brother's like, Williams called my brother too. He said, you got any eligibility left? So they went down there. So I thought I'll go there. But I do really wish, because I'd visit Ricky and Dave Fox down at Central, and I wish I would have went to Central. I really do. I'm not saying anything bad since I had a great time, but I think I'd have been a little more straight and narrow if I would have went to Central.
Are you saying Pella would have helped compared to Indianola?
Nah. Well, you got to love that red and white, man. That red and white is where it's at.
You bet.
Game days at that red and white, I love it.
Yep. I tell you, I got to get to a couple games and watch Tate this year. Don't get to as many games as I'd like. Go Dutch. Yeah. So talk about your high school career a little bit. We don't need to go game by game, season by season, but like I said, you're kind of in that early stage of the dynasty. You kind of helped establish things.
Well, my freshman year, I think me, Jeff Coogee, and Scott V, and I think Jose Hernandez, we got to dress the last game of Sage, and then we got to dress some playoffs. Never really played. I think Scott played a little bit. Jeff played, but I never got to play my freshman year. Maybe some mop-up time in a playoff game. I think we were undefeated, though, my freshman year in JV. And but that was nice getting the playoffs. It seemed like every year we got just a little farther. My sophomore year was awesome because you're not supposed to play. You're not supposed to do this or that, but I got to play. Rick Whipple was playing nose guard. Look at him, 9 foot tall. Why isn't he playing defensive end? I didn't say nothing, but they moved him to defensive end, which worked out great. Then I got to play nose, and I loved it. I loved it because you had Greg Byers and Kevin Sanger. Now, I've coached, I don't care if I make anybody mad on this one. I coached for 20 years, and I've never seen two better leaders in all them years. Kevin Sanger, you just had to look at him, and you're ready to go. You're ready to go. And Greg Byers would kill you if you weren't ready to go. I mean, that guy was a hammer. They were fun to play with. They were never nervous, it was just awesome. My sophomore year was the greatest. I mean, we eked out some games. I remember Osage put a thumping on us, but yeah, think of that. We got beat by Osage and Northwood, but
88, yeah, Osage beat you 37-13,
yep.
And then Northwood 16-12 was that game.
And I think 4 teams made the playoffs that year out of our conference. I think Northwood, Garner, us, and Osage made the playoffs, I think.
Sounds right. I know Osage probably did that year. They were
so that was fun. And then we got to play in the Dome my sophomore year, which was amazing. I went against Joel Krisman. He's a long snapper for punts. He played for Tampa Bay, played for USC. That guy picked me up and dumped me on my head and just laughed about it and looked at the ref. I thought he was going to kill me. But shit, we should have won that game too.
Yeah.
Anyway, sophomore year was fun. And then our junior year, we joined West Hancock. We got together, and it wasn't smooth sailing. I mean, some of them guys didn't have a lot of respect for Bob right away, and some of us guys that have been around forever pissed us off. But it smoothed out by the end of the season. That was tough too because we lost 6-0, and then we lost in overtime to Forest City and didn't get in. Get beat by 2 bigger schools and don't get in. That hurt because from 84 till then we made the playoffs. So then we're the idiots that didn't make it. So that hurt. That was a bad deal.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. My senior year, 04, same thing. We missed it, and it still hurts. All these years later, it stings a little bit that you didn't get it done. But yeah, I've talked to people about the whole merger of Kanawha and Britt, and typically they say the parents are the ones that have the hardest time with it. The adults in the communities. But would you say there was some friction at school and stuff for a little bit, or?
But there were some great guys, Rich Ziegler and Tim Raber. Those guys were awesome. Some of them other guys, I won't mention their names, but they're jerks. And I'd tell them to their face today, but I'm not going to do it on here. But there's different culture, and they were probably mad that they had to come here too. Some of them. So I guess I don't understand how they really felt at the time, but I think Tim Raber is the classiest guy I've ever played with. And always will be. He's just an awesome guy, and I loved playing with Ray. Ray was a captain, and Ray, me, Mike Pazinski, and Scott V were captains, and Ray was a great guy. Our senior year, that was rough, man. So Scott and I, back to my sophomore year, Kevin Sanger and Buck Byers, they're the ones that started the morning practices that we still do today.
Mm-hmm.
The running, and we did it on Sundays and stuff. We'd carry guys up bleachers. We'd go out to Crystal Lake and run. We'd run through town. It was just awesome. It was just so much of a team deal. So when Scott and I got to be seniors and captains, we'd run and make everybody wear sweatshirts and stocking hats in the gym because it was so hot in the Dome when we played as sophomores. We were ready. We were going to be ready for that. Boy, talk about looking ahead. Boy, we really blew that. First getting beat by Garner. Garner, that's our Super Bowl. And what's funny about that is Bob always had us in our best. We were always our best at the end of the season, not the first game.
Yeah.
Like they usually. And I'm sorry, Garner people, if I'm upsetting you, but they win that game and then kind of slide where we maybe lose 1 or 2 at the beginning and end up where we want to be. That's what.
And I've always said, we always play Garner week 1. From 2013 to 2020 or whatever, we only beat them, I think, once. I always said if we played them anytime after week 3 or 4, we would never lose to Garner. We just, slow starts coming out of the chute, and then that kind of motivates us for the rest of the season. And yeah,
it stinks, believe me, because I'm like, or not me, but our team was like the first to lose to them in years. My brother, Thanksgiving or Christmas, man, I hear it every year. Hey, who lost to Garner? Why don't you shut up? You lost to Garner. I mean, that's all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. You should have a round table with, so me, Josh Eisman, Toby Boothroyd, Eric Cooley, Mark Sanger, we sit around and we argue about West Hancock football for hours, and it's awesome, But that's a round table you should do sometime. Anyway.
Can we do a Zoom on that? I'd like to be included on that.
Well, you gotta be R-rated.
Yeah, we'll take off the PG rating on that one. Yeah.
But a lot of get together with those guys.
Yeah. And I have been told I have ruined several people's Hobo Day conversations in the last couple of years with the record book.
Yep.
People that used to think they were better than they were on the field, and then they can reference this nice spiral book and be like, no, actually you weren't.
So my nice room in the other room's got one there too, so there's no fibbing anymore.
Yeah. A couple of bush lights involved. It still won't, you can't exaggerate too much.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, go ahead.
Oh, that's all I had.
I'm going to go to a few sponsors here, and then we're going to keep talking some football here. Miller & Sons Golf Cars is my next sponsor. They're a family-owned operation with over 50 years of business experience. Skip and Jim Miller worked together with their dad Monty until his passing in 96. They're associated with Easy Go. Miller & Sons now calls on over 1,000 golf cars in 3 states. Companies and courses are always extremely happy with their products, service, and honesty. This has resulted in double-digit growth each passing year. Based in Britt, Miller & Sons employs 18 full-time employees and 3 part-timers. The next generation is being trained as we speak to ensure long-term stability. For more information, contact them at 843-4132, email them at customerservice@millergolfcars.com, or visit them online at millergolfcars.com. That's Miller & Son Golf Cars. First State Bank takes pride in their community-based values and wants to be your bank. They take pride in serving the Eagle Nation communities. They can personalize your banking products to meet the needs of your busy life with free internet banking and their mobile banking app with mobile deposit. Try their bill pay services as well. First State Bank backs their Eagles 24/7, just like their service to you. First State Bank, whether it's personal, business, real estate, or agriculture loans, they have the products to serve you best. That's First State Bank in Britt. Thanks to Sidetrack Lanes in Britt for sponsoring the podcast. Sidetrack Lanes opened in Britt in 1996 under new ownership. Go bowl at 411 Main Avenue North. Enjoy some food and a drink or two while you're bowling. Join the league. Check out their events on their Facebook page or call them at 843-4567. Check them out on Facebook. That's Ron Bauer and Sidetrack Lanes. And then Levi Dawn Trucking is my next sponsor. Thanks to Levi Dawn and his trucking company for sponsoring a bunch of these episodes. Call Levi at 641-860-0077. Look him up on Facebook. That's Levi Dawn Trucking in Britt. And Levi was a part of my last podcast watching a game with the 07 team, Brady Wilson and all those guys. That was a fun one. Katie's Salon and Tanning is sponsoring the podcast again for a few episodes. Mom of Braden Walk. He recently graduated from West Hancock. Her salon and tanning business is located on Main Street in Titonka. She's been there for over 16 years now. Services offered are men's, women's, and children's haircuts. Colors, perms, waxing styles, and tanning, plus many brands of retail are available. Find Katie's Salon on Facebook, on Instagram, or call 515-928-2303 for appointments. All right, going back some football here. You mentioned Coach Perkins when he came in 83, I believe, kind of switched things up. How would you describe Coach Perkins?
Very intellectual.
Yeah.
I played nose guard, went left or right or straight. And sometimes I was a little worried, but just the smartest football mind I've ever talked to or dealt with, and funny. That's one thing I hope people. I hope Gene, Coach Perkins, and Coach Sanger were both funny, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
But Gene expected a lot out of you. Coach Perkins expected a lot out of you, and I think the best thing was that we're going somewhere. We're not standing watching. We got a plan too. You got to play. We got to play. And he was so precise just with footwork, especially D-backs and stuff and D-line. I shouldn't say just D-backs, everything. Every single player on defense had a step, had 2 steps, had 3 steps. Every play had to know what everybody was doing. It was just wonderful. I didn't know Barton very well. He was in 82, I think. I was pretty young. But Coach Perkins is just a great guy, for one, heck of a coach. And I just think the two of them together is the big, they knew each other so well. Great friends, great longtime friends. I know everybody probably knows that, but would do anything for each other. But he was so meticulous, I mean, even when I went to Simpson, I was like, boy, they don't do things like Gene did or Coach Perkins. It was so technical and good, and guys were scared of it a little bit, because he's so smart. Remember Mr. Gelberg? I don't know if you had Mr. Gelberg. Mr. Gelberg scared the crap out of me. He did. He intimidated me because he's so smart. But you know what? When I asked that guy for help one time, Mr. Gelberg, it was easy then. And I think that was the same with Coach Perkins. If you would ask him a question, if you not be scared to ask him a question, that was my thing in high school too. He just told you how it was and exactly how he wanted it, and it was easy. But sometimes, and I think the respect for coaches, I'm not saying that there's no respect for coaches now. I think we are so lucky here at West Hancock, because I've heard horror stories about other schools. The respect for Coach Perkins and Coach Sanger was so high that you didn't want to mess up, No. So, just a great guy.
Yeah, I agree. And Perkins came back my senior year in 2004, if you remember that. And so I only got to play for him that 1 year. And my senior year, I was on the sideline half the season because we'd be up 60-0 against Manly at halftime, So I felt like I got kind of robbed of getting to play for him. But exactly what you said, man, I was scared and intimidated of the guy because he was already legendary at that point. And he'd tell you to do something and you'd be like, okay, I didn't quite understand what he said, but I'm going to go this way and hope for the best. And he'd either correct you or tell you good job. And I'm like, all right, I got to remember that's what I got to do next time or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed the little bit I got to play for him. And then just my interactions and stuff afterwards. Went to his house a couple years ago, drop off a record book for him. And we sat and talked football for a good hour. And not just football, just stuff in general too. Concern, asking about your family, how things are going, and
Yep. He loves to visit now too. I got a quick story about that. I just ran into him last couple weeks ago, and he was at Casey's there, and I was getting gas on my truck. This is when gas was $4.19, and I started to fill up my truck, and I hey coach, he goes, hey coach, and he starts to walk towards me. And I didn't want him to walk all the way to me, so I walked over there, and he's talking to me, and we're having a nice conversation. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, my truck is, I have a 25-gallon truck tank in my. Well, I had a nice conversation with the coach, and I went over and I had a $125 bill in my. I love talking to him. I'm not gonna, coach, I got to stop you and go shut that off. I just love talking to him. I don't see him enough, and I should. It's just I'm busy too, and that's no excuse, but I should go see him more.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, not an easier guy to talk to, that's for sure.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. We'll get to Coach Sanger here later when we get in kind of your coaching career, but you told me you also wrestled and played baseball. Talk about your other sports experiences a little bit.
Well, my baseball career is a little mad at Mr. Timmerman for retiring. I was a junior because there's a guy. That guy is awesome. His podcast was awesome, by the way, too. I really liked Coach Timmerman. I really did. I had a lot of respect for him. I was a terrible baseball player. Terrible. I got to play. I think must have been nobody else around to put me in, but just terrible. And then we had a new coach come in my junior year, and he was very knowledgeable, but it just didn't mesh. I don't know, whatever. So that was that. I don't have a lot to say. I missed Coach Timmerman. My wrestling career was awesome. Just because of Coach DeLeon. I mean, Coach DeLeon, you're walking down the hall. Hey, stud. Hey, stud. How you doing today, stud? Hey, stud. Come be a manager. He was just a great recruiter. And I'm very proud. I was a conference champ my senior year. I'm very proud of that. All my friends are rolling their eyes right now. But to be a camp in North Iowa to me was awesome. And the only 100% reason I got that was because Coach DeLeon. He honestly made you believe you could beat anybody anytime. And I didn't wrestle a lot when I was a little kid like they do now. I pretty much wrestled 7th and 8th grade. And I played basketball in 7th and 8th grade. You could do both. And I really thought I was going to play basketball until DeLeon started recruiting. And I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad I wrestled. Wrestling is so fun for me. I love to watch wrestling on TV. I love when Tate wrestled. It's just different. And I know you played basketball, and it's just different. It's something you'll love your entire life. The Olympics, college wrestling, it's just the greatest. I help out with the scores down here. I love wrestling. I mean, it's number 2. Don't get me wrong. They're not better in football, nothing. But I love wrestling, and I'm so glad that I got to partake, especially in Britt. Those guys, Greg Byers, Steve Kelly, Nick Smith too. I mean, those are the leaders back when I was in there. It's just hard work. It was very hard work, but it didn't seem like it because, well, it did too seem like it. I can't say that, but it was fun. It was hard, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. And I announced the other day that I'm writing that book about West Hancock football and wrestling. And so I'm doing my research almost every day on wrestling right now. I'm still only on like 1966, but talking about how, great of a guy and Coach DeLeon was. At the all sports banquet at the end of the 65 or 66 season, when they either got 3rd or 2nd at state, a big part of his speech was thanking the head of the cafeteria staff. Ruth Packard was her name, an elderly lady, and I don't know how old she was at the time, but they said she was a little bit older. And he asked her to make specialized meals for his wrestlers that were cutting weight. And so she made these special meals for these wrestlers so that they could maintain their weight and still eat. And that was a big part of the article, was him just thanking her. So I reached out to Lois and said, you got to tell me more about this Ruth Packard lady. I'm going to get her in the book a little bit too. But that spoke volumes to me. He had, 3 kids be runner-up that season. They brought home a trophy, and he was thanking the cafeteria lady for all that she did. I thought that was a neat thing. So it's kind
I'll
of.
tell you, DeLeon was always telling us to make sure we treated our janitors as highly as we could. I mean, they did so much as far as cleaning the locker room, cleaning the mats, because you get some funk in there, some scurv on your face or whatever, you're out. You're not going to wrestle. When you go through all that practice and don't get to wrestle because you got something, that stinks.
Yeah.
So he was always, and Coach Sanger too, those guys don't have to pick up after you. That's your job,
Yeah.
Always, really good to the janitors.
Yeah, and you should be. I just at school today, and our janitor Kenny, he's an amazing guy, works his tail off, health problems, and they're the guys that do all the dirty work behind the scenes that people don't see. Yeah. So you mentioned you won conference year. Was it your senior year? How did you do in the postseason in wrestling?
I made it to districts. I got 2nd in Britt here. We had sectionals here in Britt. I got 2nd. I got beat from a kid from Clear Lake. We were 2A then, I believe.
Yeah.
And then went to Humboldt for districts. I wrestled the number 1 ranked guy in the state. He killed me. And then I got beat in my wrestle back. So I never made it to state.
Yeah.
Which, I'll say it again, and I'll say it to you kids listening, you 18-year-olds don't know nothing. You don't know anything. I was kind of, in my mind then, I was ready to be done because it's hard, it's long. And I'm saying that I kind of thought that in my head, and Rick Sanger's hit me in the head saying, "Come on, man, come on!" And I regret it to this day. I think in my head, we worked so hard all year, and then from sectionals to districts was the worst stuff I ever went through for practice. Hardest thing I've ever done, and then not to have my mind in it like it should have been, because I was in the best shape of my life. I regret that. I regret that a little bit, but can't do nothing about it now. So
yep. And wasn't your son Tate pretty decent at wrestling?
Yeah,
he did okay.
Yeah. He did all right. I don't mess. I used to.
Yeah. Talk about him winning state in 2020.
Well, it was so. Coach Sanger told me it's the greatest thing coaching your son. Well, he left a part out. It's the greatest and it's the worst thing.
Yeah.
So we played Woodbury in the semis, and Tate fumbled at the end of the game and proceeded to punch the floor in the dome. What'd the floor do to him?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we go to the Pizza Ranch afterwards. He comes up, his hands just swollen like crazy, like, you idiot. Anyway, ends up being broke. So he did not wrestle till January. And he made it to state as freshman or as sophomore, junior, and senior, but he went 1-2 barbecue as freshman. He won 1 or 2 matches his junior year. And you could just see that. And I don't know much. I didn't go to practice ever for wrestling, but he had a mission when it came to wrestling. Mark told me a lot about how he's really tough to score on. You could just see the difference from his junior year to his senior year. He was not going to get beat. He had some tight matches too, and he seemed really calm, in those matches. He won in a semifinal match in triple overtime, and boy, he just didn't look rattled. And me, we have some cool pictures down here in my bar, and 13 seconds. There's 30 seconds to get away to go to the finals, and he gets to his feet right away, and they go out of bounds. They come back to the center. He stands up. The kid drops down, hangs on his leg. In my head, I'm like, it's over. There's no way, because all you got to do is hang on that leg, and it's going to be over. Mm-hmm. He kicked, and it was just the greatest ever. And him winning state was just awesome. It was.
I remember watching on the live stream or whatever it's called, through the Wrestle Track, and then seeing some pictures and stuff. I think he ran up the bleachers and gave you a big hug, and it was pretty neat to watch. First state champ since Mark Sanger in 2001. So that was pretty cool.
It was very cool, except he was 195 pounds and he jumped in my arms. And when he went to jump, I had to make sure I had a hand on the railing or we were both going down.
That would have made for some good TV. Yeah.
But it was great. That was cool.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to use the word lucky, because there's nothing lucky in winning a state championship. But if the state tournament was scheduled, 2 weeks later, he would have never won a state championship because COVID would have shut everything down.
You have no idea how Coach Paul Francis and I are just sick. That could have really happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They ended up having basketball state with restrictions and stuff, but I think wasn't the talk with wrestling being so close contact that might have gotten the axe, even though basketball might have stayed. I can't remember how that went, but yeah, that would have been sickening to think about. So yeah, let's not talk about 2020 anymore. It wasn't a good year overall. So yeah, I'm gonna get some more sponsors, and we're gonna talk about coaching. All right. The Original Saw Company is a leader in American-made radial arm saws, cross-cut power saws, and beam saws. They offer accessories such as extension tables, measuring and clamping systems, dust shrouds, and miter saw stands. Original Saw's product line includes items for both the hobby woodworker and complex automated industrial settings. Sister company, Williams and Husky Machine and Tool, manufacture and sells molders and accessories for making custom and stock moldings and trim. Original Saw provides through Jones Machinery a preventative maintenance and repair service of wood and metalworking machinery throughout the Midwest. Want to know more about the Original Saw Company? Check them out at originalsaw.com. Jay Hiscocks, State Farm Team and Britt, is a proud supporter of Wes Hancock and the Sanger Legacy Fund. They can help you with all your insurance needs, including auto, home, life, farm, business, and renter's insurance. For a free quote or review, give Jay or Lindsay a call at 843-3563. And I'd like to thank Jay. I just called him the other day, and I'm going to switch from my uncle retired from the insurance game and gave me his blessing to switch over. And so I gave Jay a call, and he's going to save me quite a bit of money on my auto and home insurance. So check out Jay at 843-3563. Then we have Nick Schmidt for sponsoring another episode. He's a 2000 West Hancock grad, and he just simply wants to give back to the Sanger Legacy Fund and his alma mater. So thanks to Nick for sponsoring the podcast. Buckets Bar and Grill in Buffalo Center, Rake and Thompson. I called my mom about an hour ago or two, and that's where her and my dad were visiting with some friends. Buckets is a casual dining experience with sandwiches, wings, burgers, and nightly specials, serving you from 3 great North Iowa locations. Buckets Bar and Grill has great places for you to hang out. Again, that's in Buffalo Center, Thompson, and Rake. Contact Brian at Buckets on Facebook. That's Buckets Bar and Grill. And then we have Jim Deemer and the Britt Vet Clinic. The Brit Vet Clinic is also long-term sponsoring the podcast. They're located in downtown Britt. They're there for all your small animal vet needs and swine vet services. Call them at 843-3416 or email the I can't talk tonight, the Brit Vet Clinic at britvetclinic@gmail.com. All right, so coaching at West Hancock. You coached in 96, and then you came back in 2002 and coached through the 2020 season. I think I got my research right there. You're giving me a look. Did you coach?
I know it adds up to 20. So I want to say the first year I coached coming back was Ryan Pritchard's senior year. I think
that'd be 02. Yep. My sophomore year. Yep.
And then my last season was with Cole Kelly and Tanner Thompson.
Yep, 2020. And the quarterfinals in Britt lost to Grundy Center would have been that last game. Yeah. So how'd you get coaching in 96 with Coach Sanger?
Well, I was standing in the front row in 95 when we played, I want to say Sigourney in the Dome.
Yep.
Very loud. It was very loud in the front row. And Coach Perkins literally turned around and told me to sit down and shut up. I swear. And the next year I was at I don't know where I was. It was somewhere. And Coach Sanger was taking tickets at the for a basketball game or wrestling meet, whatever it was, and he says, "Hey Travis," he goes, "You got your coaching endorsement?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Why don't you get that? Come give us a hand." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." So I did, and I went in '96, and the first whatever, I just kept my mouth shut and watched, But those guys were awesome. Yeah. They were awesome. Hire and Jeff Sanger and Big Al and that whole team was they're just tough. Rasmussen, I thought nobody beat them ever. Nobody even come close. But you get down in that dome, things get a little stiff. But so I got to coach 1 year, and then I was working in Mason City in construction, and my boss let me leave every day from Mason at like 2:30 to work. And I got done with the season, and my boss says, "Well, if you want to continue coaching, I can no longer work here." I was making pretty good money. I didn't have any other options really at the time, so I didn't do it anymore. But I kept thinking about a way to do it, and I don't remember what year. Started working for Budweiser here in Britt. My wife was working in Clear Lake. She got a job at the hospital in Britt. So then I kind of asked him because when I was on the truck for Budweiser, you could kind of start your day whenever you wanted. You could start at 4 a.m. if you wanted to, and be 3, so make practice. So Bob asked me again, "Hey, you think you can make it work?" And I did. And that's how that went.
Yeah. Yep. We're glad you did. That's for sure. So yeah, that would have been my sophomore year, 2002. That first group was, like you said, Ryan Pritchard, Taylor Van Weinboom, Travis Johnson. That was a good team that I thought was state title game worthy as well. We should have been in the state title game that year, I still think. That fluke loss to Dyke in the Dome.
They had like a 4th and 14.
More than that, I think it was like 26 or something crazy like that.
God literally put the ball in that kid's hand. I mean, talk about ripping your heart out. I've had my heart ripped out quite a few times coaching.
Yeah.
Poor Coach Sanger and Coach Perkins, they've had it even worse. But I mean, usually, like, not to jump ahead or anything, but in that 2019 game, all of us coaches, I don't care what those other guys say, they know that they were thinking the same thing. We're trying to kill the clock, and all of us can see is Tate fumbling the ball. They scoop and score, and the game's over. Because that's just a Britt West Hancock thing that happens sometimes in the dome. But no, those guys were good. I kept my mouth shut. Coach Benning was there then. Really liked Coach Benning. Fireball. Nobody knows more people than Coach Benning. He knows everybody from everywhere. I've gone to national wrestling with him a couple times. He knows everybody. Everybody. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable, very rah-rah. I'd like to say I'm more of a rah-rah than an X's and O's. Mark's real X's and O's, Gene's real X's and O's, and I'm the guy that's telling you to move your ass.
Yeah.
So, and if kids going slow or not working hard, I'm going to be the first one to put my boot there. So it worked well.
You need that combination though. You need the guys who are gonna do the fundamentals and the X's those, and you need the guys that are just gonna get you fired up and want to go. And
Yeah,
I'd say you were the perfect one because when we would go on, we'd get a charter bus, I think, to that dome game. I think we popped in your senior highlight tape, and some of the guys were like, "Watch him at nose guard." And you were like leaping over guys, ducking around, and you were just knocking people around. And we're like, "Yep, I'll do whatever that guy says." So, you need that variety on a coaching staff, I'd say.
I'll tell you, coaching's great, but playing's, everybody knows that playing was. I love playing, and I loved Henry Thomas. Played for the Vikings, and he'd always line up goofy, and I never missed a Vikings game when I was in high school or Notre Dame, and Chris Zorich was nose guard back then for them, and it's more than just beating into a guy, and that's what's so hard to teach some of these.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to run into them. They always want to run it. You don't always have to run into them. Put a move on them, but we're so physical. West Hancock's so physical. I never, ever, ever want to take that away. We're going to continue to be physical. But how about, like me, I would swim a guy left, swim a guy left, swim a guy left, swim a guy right. And then I'd run him over because he's trying to catch my swim. And then that's the things that I teach. You got to play the game within the game.
Yeah.
So that's what I pushed a lot. And I don't know if you remember, but I always loved, and I still did it. And, we do Skelly. They do Skelly and we do men work. And I'd say, you guys go play catch and we'll be down here doing the work.
Yep. I remember that. And I look back at, you weren't there, but my freshman year, and even through my, into my sophomore year and stuff, there were several guys that played and were all conference at Central, all American at Central. We had probably 10 or 12 all staters the times I played, and you'd be at practice and you're like, this is more difficult than a football game, going against Ryan Johnson, Taylor Vanden Weinboom, Darren Kruger, Aaron Rasmussen. That's just a handful of guys. And, you'd be sore after practice and you'd get done with a Friday night game and you're like, I'm kind of sore, but not as bad as I was on Tuesday, or whatever it was. So,
yeah, Greg Byers pounds you into the ground and then pounds you into the ground and then pounds you into the ground again. But
yeah.
you know what? Got up every time and it made us better when we got older too. Those guys were just awesome. Steve Kelly touched on that too. I just think those guys were the grittiest team I was ever around. As far as just tough. But,
yeah. My dad would get to several of the games, even though he was making pizzas. He'd have my mom take over so he could watch the game. And he goes, some of those mid to late 80s to the early, to mid 90s, he goes, I wouldn't have a clue who had the ball because all I cared about was watching the line play. I loved watching a lot of those guys you mentioned, all the way up to like Mike Stripling in the late 90s and stuff. He goes, I could just watch those guys just kill people, play after play, and
they wanted to. They literally wanted to. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yep. All of them, almost all of them that started and played. I remember David Smith really impressed me because I was like, who's this guy? Who is David Smith? Really? He kind of looked like Sunshine on Remember the Titans. But boy, he'd get out in the flat. Ooh, that guy'd catch the pass and he would welcome to Mr. Smith. I just loved, he would just hammer guys. I loved it. He was on the weak side too, so they didn't think much of it, and he was a hammer. I liked him a lot.
Yep. There's another David Smith playing currently too, and he's a stud, gonna be a real good one too.
He's probably glad I quit coaching because tired. I didn't quit. I retired. I was hard on David. I was yelling at David every play because when I got to practice that year, I'll never forget, we'd do one-on-ones. He'd eat up seniors. He'd eat them up. And then we'd play in a game and he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
But boy, last year, it was fun to watch him get after it. I cannot wait for this year to watch him get after it.
Yeah.
He's tough. I like it. It's going to be. Aaron Rasmussen was very fast. Stripling was very fast. David Smith's really fast. So, Coach Perkins, there's no substitute for speed.
Yeah. And I'd always take the smaller, faster guys any day over the big dudes. I played with Jake Moore, and I just loved the way Jake played football. He was probably one of my favorite West Hancock football players, just the way he went about things. And he wasn't a big guy by any means. He just got after it. and we're talking kind of current football right now too. The 2021 team, you're saying, previous teams, sometimes the physicality was just pancake this guy every time. But talk about a defense that, yeah, they were physical, but they didn't make mistakes on defense. There was no getting around those guys. They were just fundamentally sound, did their jobs, filled their gaps, got to their spots. And I don't remember watching a defense as good as this last team.
But you got Kane Zool. Boy, you can't say enough about that guy. Geez, we went down and watched him in the Shrine Bowl. I think he had 6 or 7 tackles, and he only played 2 quarters. He actually only played 1 full quarter. In the fourth quarter, they were ahead, so the offense kind of milked the clock. So he didn't get to play a lot. But what a tackler! What a football. Zool. I mean, to get that start when he's young, freshman, sophomore, and get some time. I mean, talk about a Mark Sanger getting not lucky, but getting the safety blanket, having him back there. I mean,
yeah. Well, when he started as a sophomore in the secondary in Tate's senior year in 2019, you look back there and you're like, that's who I'd be going after, just looking at size wise, like, who are you going to pick on? And then you watch him tackle and get to the ball, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't go near him either. Even as a sophomore, he was making plays. And I'm going to hang out with Kane this Friday at the alumni banquet. I'm a board member now, and he's a scholarship recipient. And man, his application impressed all of us. And he's just a stand-up kid.
Real. I'll tell you, his sophomore year, he came into camp, man. He wanted it all. I mean, he did it, and he proved it. Just a really, really, really solid football player. Yep. And that's, there's a lot of good football players that played at West Hancock, a lot. So yep. I'm not trying to put anybody out, but Kane's one of the best I see.
Yep, I would agree. Let's get back to your career a little bit here. When I sent you the notes, did you know that was your career record as an assistant coach? Did you have a clue to the numbers? So Coach Hagen's coaching career, 1996, and then 2002 to 2020 was 160 wins and only 60 losses. And that included 2 state titles, a runner-up, 3 semifinal appearances, 6 quarterfinals, a second-round appearance, and 3 first-round losses, for a total of 16 playoff appearances. So you've been a part of half of all the West Hancock and Britt playoff appearances. You were part of half of those. And if you include your playing career and your managing career, you've seen most of the postseason that our history has had. Your playoff record was 26-14, so that's 40 playoff games, and you won 10 district titles in 20 years. The crazy part, those 60 losses, that's not a lot of losses in 20 years. That's an average of 3 losses a year. If you take out 2008, 2009, and 2013, that's when we went 2-7, 3-6, and 0-9. You're looking at 38 losses. Obviously we probably weren't going to go undefeated those years, so you're looking in the 40s maybe. So real impressive. If you look, you can always, how numbers are, you can always make numbers how you want them to look. But 160 and 60. But besides just wins and losses and stuff, what are some of the memories that you'll take away from your coaching career at West Hancock? And you called it retirement. I'm going to call it a sabbatical, because Tate has a couple years left eligibility, and then Mark's going to throw a whole bunch of money your way or whatever, and we'll see you back on the sideline.
We'll see. One, the best thing I could say is that Coach Perkins and Coach Sanger were friends of mine, not just coaching colleagues, not colleagues, whatever you want to say, but they're truly my friends, and I cherish that. It was just, I don't really know how to say it. It was just awesome. And we are so lucky. I mean, talking to Scott V, I had that on the notes, the kids come and want to be there. I mean, we had a couple down years, but even those kids that were down, they practiced hard. Coach wasn't lying when he'd go to those pep rallies and say how hard those kids worked. They did. They worked hard. They really did. They worked hard. It just we couldn't get her to click, like we could in some years, I will always cherish getting to be. I'm so honored, one, that you're having me on this, but two, that Coach Sanger asked me to coach. I remember Steve Kelly saying there's nothing better than somebody calling you coach. And I agree 100%. I love when I see old former players, hey, coach, how you doing? But do you know who else called me coach? Coach Sanger. Mm-hmm. That's, every time he saw me, hey, coach. I mean, that's that's the coolest thing that I could say.
Yeah.
Um, great bunch of coaches, all of them very knowledgeable. I love that we were all from Britt. I know we had some guys that came in, Boozman and Fink, and those guys were awesome. They really were. They had a nice little perspective. Booz and and Fink, they were good. They were really good. They were nice for our program. But it's nice that we're all from West Hancock. We're all on the same page. I don't know anything about the new guy really, but yeah, it's just a great group of guys, and we're all on the same page. That's the big main thing. There was no fighting there, which why would you fight? It was a little weird in 21 when Coach was gone, Coach Bob was gone, and then I look around and I'm the oldest guy standing there. It was definitely weird, because I was always with Coach Perkins and Coach Sanger, and just sitting there like a kid listening to them. I just love listening to their stories and listening to I know you've asked Coach Perkins a couple times, but I bet if you got him to come on like with a player or somebody else, he'd probably do it. But he could talk for 3 hours. That'd be wonderful. But
that's cool. I'm gonna keep working on him.
Yeah, it's just awesome. We're so lucky to have our community and our school. All the things Bob used to say are so true. This community, and I wish I could speak like Mark and Bob did, because they talk. And I'm just like, I just ramble and ramble and ramble. So I will cherish it forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Where I'm at down here, I'm at a great small school. It's just not the same. I don't think anything I'll ever find will be the same. And I've been at another school that wasn't so great. I've met some good people, but man, just you don't realize what you had until you don't have it anymore. If I could convince my wife, we'd be living in Britt right now, but not throw any pressure on her anymore. I do it about once a year, about this time of year, but I always joke with people because I was a head coach for 2 years at another school down here. And in those 2 years, we only won 2 games, should have won 5 or 6. So I tell people my mentor, Bob Sanger, and I won a combined 360 football games and 3 state titles. I usually don't mention that he won all but 2 of those games and all the titles, but it just sounds good that, again, you can spin the numbers however you want. But like you were saying, though, man, like him just calling you coach meant a lot. Anytime I'd run into the guy and he would just, how's your family doing? How's the job? He remembered what school I was at, what I was coaching. He even remembered in high school, I'd wear 75 for my football number. And he'd be like, are you wearing that? Cause that's what your dad wore for Buffalo Center back in 78. Like, yeah, that's amazing. You know that. And he goes, played tackle. He was also their place kicker. He wasn't a bad player. He got his head on the right side, but he was a little small, not real fast. I'm like, holy cow, you've forgotten more football than I'll ever know. Or he remembers people. And that's what I loved about him more than anything. So yeah. So his last season was Tate's last season, his senior year. Tate got to go out not only with a wrestling title like we talked about, but he also got to go out with a state football title. What was that season like for you with all that going on with coach's sickness and Tate's senior year and everything else?
a whirlwind. It was a whirlwind. Like I said, Coach didn't say everything about coaching your boy, and I didn't have. I coached Tate a lot. I guess 5th and 6th grade we played, and I was a coach then. But he was always linebacker coach, and I was always with the dogs up front, and just wanted him to play football the right way, and we got that from Bob. I got it from Bob, and he got it from Bob. And coaching Tate was the hardest thing because 1, I didn't want him to mess up. 2, I didn't want him to get hurt. And 3, I didn't want him to, do things the wrong way. And I think he represented West Hancock well. I hope people think of that way. It was, like I said, you're just waiting for somebody to fumble the damn ball, and that was just going to be it. I mean, I really thought 6th grade, we played, so they took half those guys and half those guys, and we played in a game, 6th grade. And it was 6-0. Joe Smith was on the other team. Brody Cox was on the other team, and Dean Cheddar was on the other team. They had it stacked. But at 6th 6th grade, man, these guys were bawling their eyes out when they lost because we killed everybody. We had 2 Britt teams and the West Hancock teams, and we just killed everybody. After that game, they were just bawling. And I reminded them, hey, we all get to play together in high school. It's wonderful. And even Coach Sanger, because they killed everybody in junior high, and then we struggled a little bit sophomore year because they pulled Brody Cox, Tate, and
Redenius, did he play some
yeah,
varsity?
Yeah, they all played varsity. They didn't get play any JV games, so we struggled a little bit that year. So that, and I remember I yelled at Tate pretty hard one time. We lost a Garner JV game, right?
Uh-oh.
He didn't play. He didn't even dress, and I yelled at him. Probably the worst I ever did, just because lost to Garner for one, and two. It was up to him and the fellas to bring them other guys up because you're not going to be playing with those seniors when you're a senior. You're going to be playing with those sophomores. So I remember that was one of the harder coaching moments I had on him. But it was a pleasure, man, to hold that trophy and give him a hug afterwards. How many guys can say that?
Yeah, that'd be pretty special. Yeah,
I think he got it at the time too. So that's what was nice.
Yeah, and it wasn't lost on Tate and a lot of those other guys, what Coach Sanger was going through. The book I'm writing, the first part of the football chapter, I that was my intro to the chapter or the section of, when they're kind of like taking pictures. The photographers are wanting to get their pictures taken with the banner and the trophy, and you could just tell Tate was itching to get going. And as soon as they kind of gave him the thumbs up, he ran over to that end zone and held the trophy up where Kevin and Coach Sanger were sitting. And oh man, I had to watch that on the TV at school, and goosebumps everywhere. I got goosebumps where I didn't know I could get goosebumps. I did it for Coach, and Coach Perkins was in the stands that day too. And he wasn't coaching anymore, but that title meant, that was he was part of that as well. So
Perkins gets a big smile on his face when you start talking about that stuff. And the nice thing about Tate too is he was a manager in 2nd grade. I think I wasn't a manager till like 5th grade or 4th grade, so he'd been around forever. So Coach Sanger meant a lot to him too, a lot.
Yeah.
So it was. I'm so glad that as soon as I had him, I was like, oh, I hope he gets to play for Coach. You want to have a boy play for Coach, and that dream come true pretty much.
Yeah, because even when I was in school, people kept talking about he might retire when after Mark's senior year, and I'm sure glad he kept going all those years. And
I'll tell you right now, he's never going to retire. He would never. He'd have been part of it one way or another, and that's great. And it was great. I got a quick story. You said ask me a story. My worst coaching moment ever. We're playing Garrigan, I think 07. I'm not sure. It's terrible dates. But Josh Willard was a senior, and Brady and Horsman. We're playing there. I think it was the first game because we lost. We beat them
in the regular season.
He kept having Willard punted out of bounds, And I never said a lot to Coach about plays or what he should do or anything, Willard kept punting out of bounds like 5 yards. So I went up to him, and I thought we were the best team in the state. I said, punt it to him, Coach. I go, we'll make something happen. They ran the punt back. Touchdown. They didn't score yet. He looks at me, and he goes, that's why I didn't want to punt it to him. Just like that. And I wanted to get my wife out of the stands, take me home. I didn't talk to him for a week. I didn't go near him for a week. I felt terrible. But we came back.
Yeah, we got him in the playoffs, so we're good. I'm sure he forgave you at some point, right? Or he forgot about it by the next day anyway, but you never did.
That was a rough one.
Yeah. And I just did the podcast with that 07 team, those guys. Man, that was fun. I don't know if you watched that, but we actually watched play the Alta game, and that I've never seen a game where one team got beat up more and more and more and then actually won the game. That was a lot of fun, that Alta game on the road.
Well, I'll tell you what, when Nick Horseman went down, holy smokes. And we all, the air went out of our entire sideline, just, oh no, but I'll tell you, and I know you're supposed to be nice on those Alta coaches were jerks. They were the biggest jerks we've ever coached against. I mean, we shook hands and every one of them, did he catch it? Did he catch it? Did he catch it? Not congrats. I mean, it stinks in the moment, but you got a minute or two, calm down. We've never done stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember, yeah, some things I can't say. So, but
Yeah.
never, always you stand next to Coach Sanger, Coach Burke. You're not going to be disrespectful ever.
Mm-hmm.
I remember laughing one time when I shouldn't have. We kicked Pocahontas's butt, and the coach was very upset. I thought it was funny. And Bob grabbed me by the back of the neck. That was in '96, and said, "Hey, because I was immature and stupid. I didn't realize because 09 season was coming. Oof, what a load of reality that was. Oh,
yeah,
that was rough.
Yeah,
2-7 was actually. I tell Mark that all the time. 2-7 was way worse than 09. What do you mean? I said because it's the first time it was 2-7 ever, and I've been around. So
and we talked about that 2-7 year, the 3-6 year, and then 2013 we went 0-9. The fact that we talk about those 3 seasons out of like 40, we got it pretty good. Some schools go 7-2, make the playoffs, lose in the first round. They're like, remember back in that year when we won 7 games? And we're like, 7-2 is kind of disappointing for West Hancock.
Hey, especially when you're a senior and you don't get her done. I mean, you don't want to be that guy. And that's what I think. That's what's nice about these kids that are playing right now. I think they don't want to be that guy either.
Yeah.
They want that big trophy. And I'm very excited for this year. So
yeah, well, I talked to Britt and Coogee a little bit. I let him sponsor the podcast on my dime for a little bit because I think a lot of that kid and the team. And I said, how you guys getting ready for the season? And he goes, how these seniors have been talking about how they're the only kids that ever won 2 titles. Well, we just want to be the first team to say that we've won 3. And I'm like, man, how many kids in schools have that mentality? Some kids are just happy to be out, and even that you'd question. And these guys just want it. So
I've been at a couple of junior high games when Tate was in 7th and 8th grade and seen a Lake Mills practice or a Belmont practice or something. I literally seen, and I'm sorry if your Lake Mills people are watching, but I seen kids eating Skittles on the sideline while they're doing or something. I'm like, what is going on? Well, that would never happen. Just one, our kids are engaged for once, or for one, we're always doing something where there's not a lot of standing around.
No,
great, and our practices are tight. You lose kids after so long, and Coach Sanger was so good about getting in and getting out, getting in and getting out, and doing what needs to get done and making it hard. It was funny. The worse the team was, shouldn't say worse, not as good. He would let them scrimmage all night. Good teams, you're gonna get 5 live plays.
Yeah.
So he was very good at. Oh, he was just great at practice.
I don't know if it's still a thing, but you didn't even take your helmet off in practice. There was not enough downtime to even take your helmet off because then you'd have to put it back on. That wastes time, or I don't know what the whole thing behind that was, but you weren't definitely eating Skittles on the sideline.
I kind of turned into that guy, the helmet guy that gets your helmet on, and a lot of kids probably think it was just me being a jerk, but no, it sucks to have your helmet on all the time because it's hot. But if you get used to it, then you play in a game and you got your helmet all the time. Now I preach that, right? Well, somebody put the game in '89 when we played Garner, my sophomore year, and they found Coach Hagen on the sideline with his helmet off. So Mark brought that to my attention. So
nice.
They do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't know there'd be video proof of it how many years later. So yeah, exactly. Well, I'm gonna hit a few more sponsors and we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. Thanks to the Brit Car, Truck, Bike, and Tractor Net crews for sponsoring over 30 episodes of the podcast. Jared Winger and company run these great events, which take place. We had one on July 20th. The next one's a week from today, August 17th, and then September 21st. They're all on Wednesday nights, so they're easy to get to. He owns Mojo Productions and has lived in Britt for over 15 years now. The 5th annual event has free kids activities. Trophies are presented for all categories, and a $1,000 award is given out at each show. You can't beat free admission and great food and drink from Britt vendors only. Check out the video that he has posted on BritCarCruise.com for more information. The Brit Bar and Grill. I think Coach Hagen, you've been up there a time or two, right? It's
Yeah.
a veteran-owned sports bar in downtown Britt that offers family dining, fun, and live entertainment. From ribeye steaks or burgers to roasted chicken or wings, come enjoy a meal and a local game on the biggest of screens or on any of your favorite teams. The restaurant is open from 11 to 1 and 5 to 8 Monday through Saturday. The bar is open 11 to 6 on Sunday. And I can speak to those ribeyes. I was up for the North Butler game last year and had that and a baked potato and had a beer with Chad Eisman, and it was pretty good. And man, they've done some nice things at that place. I remember the Rooster. The Rooster was always that old nostalgic place to me, but the Brit Bar and Grill's looking good.
Well, the nice thing about the Brit Bar and Grill too is he always has the game on after. So after the game, you can go up and rewatch it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. As a coach, I'd go up there and I can't rewind it because you're always wait a minute.
Go back.
Watching film, you're like, yeah, but
yeah,
that's nice to go up there and have a beer after the game and watch it again.
Yep, and talk about it some more, right?
Yep. And his ribeyes are.
Yeah, they're very good. And another sponsor, some guy named Eric Kroll. I think he's my brother. He works for Ag Performance. Ag Performance is the leader in conventional seed throughout the Midwest. They also have a product called Xylem Plus that is fighting against fusarium, stalk rot, white mold, and other vascular diseases. Contact Eric at 515-341-3361. If you're looking for a higher net return on your fields, contact Eric with Ag Performance. Again, that's 515-341-3361. Next up, the Britt Food Center is your locally owned, family-operated hometown grocery store in Britt. They offer fresh produce, fresh cut meat, fresh bakery, and homemade deli items. They're working hard to meet the needs and requests of their community. The Britt Food Center is a proud supporter of West Hancock schools. They're open 7 days a week from 8 to 8 daily, except on Sunday when they're open 8 to 6. Check them out at BritFoodCenter.com. Follow them on Facebook for deals and specials at 843-4429. That's the Britt Food Center. And then we have Wilson's Diner at 441 Main Avenue North in Britt. Go up there for breakfast, lunch, and supper. They're closed on Tuesdays, but open every other day of the week. Check out their Facebook page for their specials. Call Wilson's Diner at 843-0550. That's Wilson's Diner in Britt. They have great food at great prices and look forward to serving you. All right, so you hung up your coaching whistle after the 2020 season. So you went through Tate's freshman or a senior year, and then you stuck around for one more year, and then I assume was it just being able to watch Tate play down in Pella was one of your decisions on?
It was the biggest decision because Coach Francis and I were both D coordinators for JV on Monday nights, and I assumed my son would play JV. Central had like 5 or 6 JV games on Monday night, and I didn't want to leave him hanging. Can't just. And Mark said, just go, we'll handle it. I didn't want to do that. I either do it or you don't. I think you can't show up once in a while. You're either there, and Mark's probably rolling his eyes when he watched this and said, well, I had to work sometimes. I probably missed 7 practices in all my years.
Yeah.
Because I never missed it for anything else. But yeah, that was the real big factor. Really miss Bob. That was a little bit of it, but I mean, I love kids. Who's like you said, who knows what the future holds? I mean, if I can't go to watch Tate play anymore, I'm probably going to be pretty bored. So, yeah. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm a big Vikings fan. I would love to go to Notre Dame and watch games with Tate later in life. I hope, and if you do that now, that's something that's the 2-7 team got me is I got to go to Notre Dame because we didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty tough to get to South Bend unless you leave Friday night. A nice long trip. So anyway,
yeah. What can you say about Tate's experiences so far down in Pella? I'm a Central grad, obviously, so I know Coach McMartin pretty well, and not as many coaches left from when I was there, but still a lot of good coaches there, and I'm sure he's having a good time with his teammates.
I definitely think he's in the right spot. He really enjoys the team part of it. I think that's really good for him to be part of a team again. I think he really excels with the team spot. What I really liked about Central is we went there for a visit, and one of the heads of the business program said, we embrace athletes here. A lot of colleges, like, you're a college athlete, which they are, the college athletes, but that professor is the first time I've ever heard a teacher say, we embrace sports here because that pays the bill. I mean, that's why kids go there is to play sports.
Yeah.
And they embrace it. They help the students, when they got bus trips, and they don't penalize them. They help them. You know what I mean? And I think that's great for Tate. Great setting, great facilities. They got the worst scoreboard in the whole conference. But other than that, it's really fun. The parents are really fun. They're so accepting. Everybody gets along great. It's a great time. Even away games. I mean, they get a bar and it's all Central people before the game on away games. I love that. We tailgate now. You guys never could do that.
No.
It's just a blast. It's a blast. I can't wait. I can't wait to go. It's coming soon.
Yeah, I have to get to a couple games. It's hard to get to games anymore, and I'm 45 minutes away. Indianola is where I live, and last time Simpson and Central played here, I couldn't get to it when we scored 84 points or whatever it was.
Ugly. I've never seen stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Simpson's coach is a nice guy. I've talked to him a few times and people speak very highly of him, but I'm like, man, you gave up 84 points twice this last season. That's not good.
They play their school song when they get a first down. I'm not kidding. I'm like, every time they only had like 6 or 7.
Yeah. Got to do something.
Like, ow.
Yeah. And West Hancock and Central are pretty similar in terms of tradition.
Yep.
School colors, obviously. But it is a team first thing. Like, talking to Don DeWard and talking to the Sanger boys and stuff, the conversation doesn't go to this player had this many tackles, this player did this. It's in that season we went this far in the playoffs, we won the conference that year. I think that's pretty similar to West Hancock. Is we talk about certain players and stuff like that, and there's the record book and whatnot, but when you talk about the 2003 team, we went 9-1 that year, it wasn't this guy had this many rushing yards. We have the book to reference to, but it's wins and losses are a big deal, and doing it the right way, getting to those wins and losses.
A la Coach Sanger.
What's that?
A la Coach Sanger. I mean, think of Zach Slugger, Chris Slugger, Tate Hagen, Don Finch, Johnny Weiland. Just some Nick Horseman. You feed those guys the ball 40 times a game. Think of the records they'd have. It ain't about winning the game. It's about everybody getting to be a part of it. Just the greatest ever.
Yep. Yep. And, going back to Coach Sanger, this just clicked in my head. 2003 would have been your second year, my junior year. I think of our kickoff team. We had like the Ortiz brothers, Tyler Whitty, Brad Grammer, some of those guys on the kickoff team, and they weren't starters. They were seniors. Coach Sanger made sure that everybody had a role on the team, had a big part on the team, whether it was the kickoff team. Was there, some starters that could have been on the kickoff team instead of maybe some other guys, or, fill in the blank on any of that stuff. But he had such a way of everybody on that team was important, whether you were the Tate Hagen of the team or second string left tackle, or, fill in the blank. Everybody was important on that team, and he made sure that your job, what you did on the field, was the most important thing. And that's what I always appreciated about him. And then going back to Central, same with Coach McMartin, man, even as a student coach, I felt like I was really important on that team. My role was a big role. Just like if you're on JV or you're the varsity starter or whatever, it's a team game and the goal is to win. So, yeah.
Yep.
2022, you said you're excited to watch this season come up. Don't have to throw out predictions or anything, but what do you see from this 2022 West Hancock team?
Well, the sky's the limit. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's some spots that need to be filled, and just like normal, we'll fill them. And the speed, I talked to Mark just a tiny bit. He said that junior class, they can run, man. He can run. And I just love that speed. And I mean, the district didn't change. I mean, I hate to say things, but I just think we're more physical than most teams. And man, them teams out west, they don't like that at all. No. They don't this at all. I love that they don't like it. Hartley, they don't like this either. But we'll see. I mean, you got to play the games. When I started coaching, I was so naive. We're gonna kill everybody. We're gonna kill everybody. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. I always thought we were gonna kill Garner, and geez, we went 6 or 7 years. And, it's just rough. But I think they're a great group of guys. Coach Mark Sanger. I love how he's really implemented. He brought back the 10 guys to the ball. you watch film on us the last 5 years, we are getting to the ball, and that is
Yep.
huge. That is huge. I mean, I've watched 19 and 18 a lot on Huddle, and boy, we are getting to the ball. We are getting to the ball relentlessly, and you will win a lot of football games if you play that way.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that just I loved watching that 21 team, and especially their defense. Tate's senior year, the offense was so explosive. They just had so many playmakers. But it all comes down to me just it's all about the team, it's all about the program.
Hold on, we gotta say my son was very good, and Joe was very good, but we could argue that might be the greatest line that ever played. We could argue, and it is. I'm not saying it ain't, but Cheddar and Stromer and Cox and God, I hate to leave somebody out because it's so long ago, but those guys were awesome.
Yeah.
Ozzy and Tanner Thompson.
Yeah.
Just awesome. Just studs. Period. You know, T's doing good down in Central. T Hunt. You know, I love those guys. You know, I coached those guys in 5th and 6th grade all the way through. I love those. I loved them all. I loved all the linemen, but those guys have a special place in my heart. You know, the 19 offense and defense. Those guys were butt kickers.
Yeah,
they really got after it. You know, even in my one-on-one drills, one time I put Brody and Cheddar against each other, and they both looked at me like, "Really, we're going to do this?" I mean, it was a week from playoffs. We did a one-on-one with them, and they just bam. I'm like, I looked at myself, I'm like, "What are you doing, stupid?" Because they're not going to back down from each other.
No.
And I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. Let's do a running drill quick."
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I said that. I love my son, and I love a lot of the guys, but I've always I love my D line first, and I love second line second, which are usually the same guys.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun being around them guys. We're different.
Yep.
You know, some of them Goldilocks, running backs and quarterbacks and stuff. They're a little different than us men down in the trenches.
Yeah. In the book I'm writing, I tried really hard to incorporate linemen into the chapters, because it's, you know, in the paper it's this guy scored this touchdown, this guy got this touchdown, yada yada yada, but you know, the line you don't mention it, followed by great blocking by Smith and Johnson up front. That doesn't get in the paper. So when I had enough knowledge base of who played what position, or if the paper didn't mention it, that got put in the book every single time. I'm pretty sure. You work your butt off and you take the toll physically and don't get the recognition, but the people who know, you know, the coaches and the people in the program, and
can't do anything without the line. You can't do anything. Linebacker, Mark and Ricky, I give Mark and Rick Sanger a bunch of crap. I said, you know, you guys would be nothing without us up front, you know, nothing. And boy, that Mark mad. Rick don't care, but Mark gets pretty bad. I never played, so shit. Yeah. I watched Mark play his senior year, and I never seen a guy all over the field more. And I hate giving him credit because him and me butt heads, but man, that guy was all over the field. And I'll tell you, he picked up the torch very well, very well. His intensity, his knowledge of the game, boy, he loves it as much as his dad did. He really does.
Yeah.
And I want to say a couple things about Bob. You asked me what he meant to me. He meant the world to me. He was, you know, other than my dad, he's the greatest man I know. And the character he had, I mean, there should be a picture of him in the dictionary of character, because that guy that gave those speeches is the same guy that was at practice every day or uptown drinking coffee. And we have a great community, a great town. You know, there's 5 or 6 people in this town now and back then that would always question his, but would never come to practice or never be around it. You know, and I'm saying 99% of this town is awesome. Some jerks too that they need to get hit in the face because they didn't know what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's too bad, but he's a great man. He's a great man, great friend. He'd do anything for you. He loved the kids. I loved him. He taught me a lot, and I'm so appreciative for the opportunity. You know, so I just want to make sure I said that because he meant the world to me.
Yeah, agreed. And I didn't work closely with him every day like you did, but man, losing him hurt even from hours away, and you know, not being as connected as some people are, and man, just I always say Brit people love to tell non-Brit people about Brit stuff.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
most of them don't care.
yeah, and it's fun. And that's why I do this podcast. And I my passion has become a lot of Brit West Hancock stuff because I'm like, well, one, there's a ton of content out there, and I want to get stuff organized and so people can see it and read about it and talk about it and stuff. But just the pride that we have in our community and our school, and that a lot of that stems from Coach Sanger, and like you said, Mark is carrying that on. And if we're just talking football, I couldn't think of a better guy to take on the offense than Kevin Eisman. He hasn't gotten mentioned yet tonight. He picked up, what where Coach Sanger left, and when he was sick and stuff, and Kevin took over. Man, he's done a phenomenal job as a person, as a coach and a person, and have a lot of respect for Eisman as well.
I'll tell you, I think or Booze left it. The coach kind of said, "We need a guy in the booth." Kevin Eisman, and just boy, he loves it as much as me and Mark, and all the coaches love it. But I mean, it's in Mark, it's in Kevin's heart. He wants us to win, and he's got some great ideas, but he sticks with the basics too. He always says, I got Bob looking down on me here, Bob's tapping me on the shoulder. We coached JV together for a long time, and one year he went every first play of a game, he would run 238 pass, right? Run the wing down the center of the field.
Yep.
We get a game, first play of the game. After like 4 games, Bob came down and tapped him on the shoulder. It's not what we run the first play.
245 dive, Kevin. Come on, stick with it.
Kevin, very good at innovating. I think Ryan Johnson does a wonderful job of technical line stuff. You know what I mean? He's got the rules here and rules there, so kids, if they mess up on a play, they know, oh, it's a trap, so we got this and that. I love it. They got a great coaching staff. We always have. I said, but I think right now is as good as it's been, too. They're young, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. So they got a great mesh. And yeah, Kevin's awesome. We've been friends. I mean, I was center and he was quarterback in junior high and JV, and then he'd drive and I'd sit in the front seat for all the games. It was just, I miss that. I miss Fridays the most. That's So
sometimes getting to Friday was a grind, but once Friday was there, it was all worth it. Yeah. I'm 35, live in Indianola, and I can't wait for West Hancock football. And I think that speaks volumes of our program. Like, oh, season's 2 weeks away, first game's 2 weeks away. I sure hope we beat Garner. I'm like, to some people, I'm like, geez, you care that much about your high school football per team? And I'm like, it's different. It's not just that I have nothing better to care about in the world. It's just Coach Sanger made it a big deal, and we care about it because of how he ran the program and how Mark's continuing it and all the assistants and fill in the blank. But it's a big deal. I always tell people the live stream thing. We get 4,000 or 5,000 people watching on the live stream. The stadium's still pretty full, and people are listening on the radio, and it's it still means a lot to a lot of people wherever they live or whatever their life situation is. So, well, Coach, we're going to wrap this up here. I want to thank my 20 sponsors tonight again for sponsoring. We have Nick Schmidt. Oh, I just had something pop up on my computer. There we go. Nick Schmidt, Jay Hiscocks, Sidetrack Lanes, Britt Car, Truck, Bike, and Tractor Cruise Night Cruise, the Britt Food Center, Daniel's Auto Collision, Levi Dawn Trucking, Wilson's Diner, the Brit Bar and Grill, the Mainline Depot, Miller & Sons Golf Cars, the Original Saw Company, Britt Vet Clinic, Buckets of Buffalo Center, Thompson and Rake, the West Hancock Hall of Fame, Katie's Salon and Tanning, Coogee Professional Power Washing, First State Bank, Eric Kroll with Ag Performance, and Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company. I'm going to take a little break from the podcast here. It's August 10th today. My next one's not going to be till September 7th. I got to get the new school year rolling, get stuff going, again, to get busy there. But Sarah Swanson will be my next episode guest on episode 50. Pretty cool that this thing's made it 50 episodes. Then we have Josh Hartman, who's a Super Bowl champ as an athletic trainer for the Denver Broncos. And then I'll have a fun one. I think we're going to focus on Hobo days. That'll be John Charbonneaux and Rolly Zamago. And then the former Kanawha football coach, Kerry Van Winkle. And then that'll be rolling right around into playoff time. So we're going to do a couple playoff special episodes with Jay and Kevin like I did last year. And then coming up in December, I've mentioned this before, I'm going to get some former elementary teachers on there. Mrs. Paula Kitchen, Mrs. Roxanne Savoy, Mrs. Mary Hildman, Mrs. Kathy McCauley, and Mrs. Jeannie Farrell. And I'm actually just met a lady who taught in the 50s and 60s. I'm going to see if I can get her on there. I think that'd be fun for some people that went to school back then. I'd like to get a lot of sponsors for that episode. So hopefully we can get that going. All right, Coach, any last minute things we forgot or people you need to mention or shout out or things you're like, oh, crap, an hour ago we should have mentioned this?
Talking about me in defense or whatever. Let's whoa that back about me being one of the best, not even close, not even top 50. But I want to say, and I'm not kissing butt here, but those Sanger boys, we literally sit down here and argue who is the best football player, who this blah 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 blah, who's this, and we always skip the Sangers. We never say Mark, Ricky, Kevin, Jeff. We never say that. It's always this person or that person because we just exclude them. But make no mistake, those four boys were probably the best four football players that ever came out of the school.
Yeah.
They had to be to play. It's just like I told Tate. I said, "You're never going to play because you're my son. Never. You better be twice as good as the next guy." And I guarantee you, Coach Sanger probably said it. You're going to be 6 times better than the guy behind, in front of you or whatever. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. I think, and the stuff they've done, Rick still comes to games and helps out when he can, and Kevin never misses a beat, and Kevin Sanger is probably the greatest leader, like I said, that I ever been around. And I hope someday that somehow he can get involved in it too back here. But they're just great guys. They really are. I used to give them a lot of crap, but they're just like their dad. They're pretty awesome guys. So
yeah.
But you can't talk about Coach Sanger and not talk about his boys because they're the real deal. They're really, that character and all that. They're good guys. So
yeah. I know we're wrapping it up, but we can't not mention Mrs. Sanger while we're talking about the Sangers. Oh my gosh, love that lady.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's done so much for so many. She's a wonderful lady. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I knew this was going to be a good one, and I don't think you disappointed. So, 2 good-looking guys like us on screen. What's not to like? So, yeah. Well, I think Friday night I need to come check out your downstairs bar because all I'm seeing right now is your ceiling. So, yeah.
I'll do that.
Yep, you bet. Let's make it happen. All right. Thanks for coming on again, and go Eagles.
All right, go Eagles.